Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star Part 197 based on novel. So let's start. You should feel proud to be able to force me into using singular annihilation. In the past, the fairy dragon that the goddess of nature had left behind in the illusory shrine to protect the illusory paradise died to my singular annihilation. Although you haven't been injured, the sliver of aura that the creator god left behind has been used up. What are you going to use against me now? Sure, your scene of Genesis is extremely powerful. If you had the power of a god, then I'd very likely be the one who loses. Unfortunately, no matter how wondrous the divine throne of eternity and creation is, it can't elevate you to the level of a god. The demon god emperor said very calmly, as if all of his emotions had vanished after the battle earlier. Long Haou raised the sword of eternity and creation with some difficulty. Demon god emperor, you still haven't won. Don't talk to me with that tone. Feng Xiao smiled indifferently. You've completely used up the spiritual aura left behind by the creator god in the scene of Genesis. Do you have some technique that's even stronger than that? Sure, I have exhausted myself by using singular annihilation, but I am a god. How can a human match the recovery of a god? Son of the demon god. The huge dragon suddenly raised its head and looked at the sky. A ball of purple light appeared above the demon god emperor's colossal body like it had ripped through space. It was actually a sun, a dark purple sun. Under the purple radiance, the demon god emperor's aura actually recovered at a surprising speed. The heart of eternity thumped heavily in Long Haou's chest, assisting him recover spiritual energy. However, he could clearly sense that his recovery rate was much slower than the demon god emperor's. The devastating clash earlier had turned to nothing in the end. The clash had basically exhausted all of Long Haou and the demon god emperor's powers. However, the demon god emperor only exhausted his spiritual energy while Long Haou exhausted the sliver of aura left behind by the creator god on the divine throne of eternity and creation. Without this aura, Long Haou had lost the power of the creator god that the demon god emperor feared deeply, which also made it impossible for him to use Genesis again. This was also why the demon god emperor spoke like victory was within his grasp. The power of a god still ended up beating a super-divine tool controlled by a mortal. In the eyes of the demon god emperor, the battle had already ended. They were competing in recovery speed, so the outcome could not be more obvious. In 10 minutes at most, he would be able to return to his peak condition, while Long Haou would take an hour at the very least before he could make a complete recovery, as he had used up all of his spiritual energy, even if he had the boost of many wondrous pieces of equipment. The moon demon god and star demon god looked at one another. They could each see the nervousness in each other's eyes. The moon demon god Haou said instinctively, perhaps His Majesty has taken a liking for his talent and that his body contains His Majesty's bloodline, which is why His Majesty will spare him. The star demon god Visago seemed rather confused. I don't know. I can't see everything anymore. However, His Majesty has killed him once, while Long Haou represents all of humanity, so why would he admit the existence of this bloodline? It's just like how we never admit that we possess a human bloodline. Haou said sternly, everything will explain itself. We can only wait. Compared to how composed the demons were, the humans were close to bursting point. Every single one of them heard what the demon god emperor said in the air. Long Haou did not rebuke the demon god emperor, which could only mean that he was in a worse situation than the demon god emperor. Even though all the powerhouses of the Temple Union took pride and honor in how Long Haou managed to last until now, he was still unable to defeat the demon god emperor. Once their battle ended, didn't that mean the humans would be defeated? Xiao Shuo and Xu Yongxiao looked at each other. They could see the determination in each other's eyes. If the demon god emperor returned, they would not even have the opportunity to kill any more demons. How could they wait at a time like this? Kill. The first temple head of the Night Temple, the always level-headed Xiao Shuo, suddenly produced a defending bellow. Spiritual energy condensed into a pair of golden swords, suddenly erupting with resplendent light. He charged towards the demons without holding back anything anymore. Under his lead, the human powerhouses all attacked once more, while the remaining magic cannons that had fallen silent and cooled off slightly blasted with powerful light again. An even more intense battle began. Agos and Visago followed their original plan. They did not fight with their full strength, but they managed to stop Xiao Shuo and Xu Yongxiao even when they did their best. They were in a stalemate, but that wasn't the case elsewhere. Every single powerhouse of the Temple Union felt threatened. The humans could not afford to lose this battle. Once they lost, they would be losing the futures of millions of humans. For the sake of their family, for the sake of the fate of their race, they had decided to fight until the last drop of blood in this holy war. The bright glimmer of hope had completely gathered together now. Standing at the very front was Linshin, while behind him was Kia, Wang Yuan, Chen Yinga, and Yu, Sima Xian, and Zhong Fang. Kia's 12 holy guards remained by their side. They became the strongest concentrated force the humans had to offer. A sun burned high above Linshin's head, while his entire body had become a bluish gold. He gave off an aura so terrifying that even when the Moon Demon God and Star Demon God discovered it as they fought Xiao Shuo and Xu Yongxiao, they could not help but become shocked. The co-joined spiritual boosting pill appeared on the battlefield once again. Using this wondrous pill created by Linshin, the bright glimmer of hope had managed to escape the jaws of death several times. And this time, the main materials that went into Linshin's co-joined spiritual boosting pills were demon god crowns, the remains of devil dragons and countless other precious materials. Not only was it effective on 9th step powerhouses, it could last as long as an hour. This was also the final trump card of the bright glimmer of hope. In the air, the result of Long Haochen and the demon god emperor's battle was clear. Long Haochen had lost the upper hand. However, only the members of the bright glimmer of hope still held great confidence in their captain. Long Haochen's performance had completely exceeded their imaginations. His cultivation had even reached the terrifying level of the 9th rank of the 9th step during the process. However, they all knew that until now, Long Haochen had yet to play his trump card. This was a trump card that could shock the entire demon race. As a result, what they wanted to do was to handle all the problems outside of Long Haochen's battle with the demon god emperor. They wanted to protect the human powerhouses as much as possible. The ultimate co-joined spiritual boosting pills had been used at this moment as well. With Linshin as the person to be boosted, every member of the bright glimmer of hope shone with a strange, 7-colored light behind him, as if they had become divine tools. Duan Yi and Yang Wenjiao did not participate in the spiritual boosting this time. Apart from the fact that they might not have been able to endure the backlash from the co-joined spiritual boosting pills, more importantly, 7 people was already the limit for the co-joined spiritual boosting pills. It was pointless to include more people. The 7 powerhouses of the bright glimmer of hope could all wield domains. With their spiritual energy combined, they could surpass 1.5 million spiritual energy. However, all that could be gathered in Linshin was 990,000. The domain and realm of gods could not be reached like this. However, the difference between 990,000 and 1.5 million was not particularly significant, because the 1.5 million spiritual energy had been divided between 7 people, while the 990,000 that Linshin currently possessed was all his. Moreover, with the support of tremendous spiritual energy from his companions, he could even extend the period of the co-joined spiritual boosting pill to over an hour. The reason why Linshin could endure such tremendous spiritual energy was because he had killed 20 devil dragons earlier, using their inner pellets to refine the best protective pills. That was why he could protect himself from the spiritual energy that had reached the 9th rank of the 9th step. Raising the eternal dragon's fire, Linshin currently seemed like a fire fairy that burned with blue flames. His eyes even produced a blue haze from the burning. As soon as they had begun fighting again, he had demonstrated his most powerful state. A ring of seemingly solid blue light with specks of starlight rose from the top of his magic staff, enveloping a large range. When the ring grew to 50 meters in width, it suddenly halted, and afterwards, a powerful, explosive rumble filled the air. The dense, blue flames turned into a huge stream that rushed into the air. Under the explosive rumbling, at least 8 hidden demons were forced out and annihilated. Only a single demon managed to escape with his life. It was the 45th demon god who was most skilled in assassination, the head of the Dyke clan, the invisible demon god Vine. It was Vine who had led the powerhouses of his clan, hiding themselves in attempt to launch a sneak attack on Linshin. However, how was it possible for them to evade Linshin's terrifyingly powerful senses of the elements? As long as the fire element was present, nothing could escape his senses. The magic that Linshin had just used was only resisting fire ring combined with the flame rumble. They were both spells below the 4th step, but just that had easily killed off 8 powerhouses of the 8th step from the Dyke clan. The reason why Linshin had been boosted and not Caio was because he was the most skilled in long-range attacks out of the bright glimmer of hope. He also possessed the powerful heart of flames. Having been forced out of invisibility, Vine turned around to flee. His sneak attack had failed. The fire element that had directly become tangible around Linshin filled him with shock. Want to run? Linshin snorted coldly. He pointed the Eternal Dragon's fire at Vine. The huge crystal on the Eternal Dragon's fire actually produced a black streak. Vine sensed something was off, so when he tried to block it, his body was immediately penetrated instead. The blade in his hand shattered, while a huge hole appeared in his chest. However, strangely enough, there was no blood. In the next moment, Vine's corpse directly vaporized, as if he had just evaporated away. With a flash of blue light, a hand of fire caught Vine's demon god crown with great precision and brought it back to Linshin. It was the Vulcan's finger. It was not black. Instead, it was the color when the blue flames had been consolidated and condensed to their limit. The 45th demon god, the invisible demon god Vine, fell in battle. He had been slain instantly. Linshin had only just demonstrated his edge. Under the protection of the 12 holy guards, he slowly flew forwards and raised the Eternal Dragon's fire once more. The sun over his head did not grow in size, but it rapidly became dark blue, before turning into the same black as the Vulcan's finger earlier. There was a rich, blue haze around the black, rather similar like the luster that the Devil Dragon Emperor in its original form. Currently, Linshin seemed even more demonic than the demons with a black sun over his head. However, in the following moment, he had become the nightmare of the demons. A ball of pitch-black fire flew out of the sun first. It was 5 meters wide and it had a layer of dark blue haze around the fireball. It did not fly quickly, advancing slowly. However, wherever it passed by, it would make the air ripple. Even more terrifyingly, due to the rippling air, the huge, black fireball seemed to blur and drift about, preventing anyone from locating it exactly. As it flew slowly, it seemed to be looking for a target. It was completely different from regular magic that could be used in a short moment. Afterwards, a second black fireball flew out. It was exactly the same as the first one, also flying forward slowly, ripping the air and distorting the space. The sight of Linshin killing Vine was deeply embedded in the heart of every demon powerhouse. Now that unknown, black fireballs that were even more terrifying than the Vulcan's finger that claimed Vine appeared, were any of them bold enough to take it head-on? Who knew what kind of power that thing possessed? Linshin smiled. His smile seemed very warm, yet it also seemed evil. People who knew him would understand that his drugs bro was about to do something bad. The huge fireballs seemed like they did not require any magic at all, flying out one after another. Only when the 9th emerged did Linshin stop. It was also in the moment when the 9th fireball emerged that the 8 other fireballs that wandered about aimlessly suddenly increased their speed, all flying towards where the demons were most concentrated. Their target was where the Devil Dragon squads and the demon gods gathered. Due to the deterrent nature of the black fireballs, many demons avoided Linshin and gathered in a single area instinctively. The more people there were, the stronger they would be. That was what all the demons were thinking. Now that the black fireballs were sailing over, all the demon powerhouses scattered quickly in an attempt to avoid it. Not a single demon was willing to face or block the 9 colossal black fireballs, including the demon gods. They had all witnessed the invisible demon god Vine's tragic fate. By suddenly speeding up, the huge fireballs made them all want to run away quickly. However, the fireballs that floated through the air slowly before had now attained shocking speed. The fireball at the very front had basically charged into the most densely packed area of demons from before in the blink of an eye. Of course, the demons still ended up scattering. They were not hit by it. From suddenly erupting with speed to instantly halting, the movements of the huge fireballs only seemed stranger and stranger. In the moment it stopped, the second black fireball arrived and they collided together. The scattering demons could not help but become shocked. They could not afford to flee any longer. They all turned around in a hurry and put up their strongest defenses. Just how terrifying would the attack created by the collision of the fireballs be? However, the two fireballs did not explode after colliding. However, the demon powerhouses all shivered from the bottom of their hearts when they saw what happened next. Basically all of the nearby demon gods made the same decision, immediately using their demon god pillars to teleport. They returned to their demon god pillars. Indeed, the two black fireballs did not explode after colliding. However, they fused together instead. The two of them became something even larger. In a short while, the other 7 fireballs caught up from behind and they all became a part of the new, colossal ball of fire. When all of the black fireballs combined over the span of a few seconds, they turned into a terrifying existence over 30 meters wide. The demon powerhouses all felt like they were suffocating, actually kind of like when they were facing the demon god emperor. Ah! My friends, farewell. Linshin waved his eternal dragon's fire with a pleasant smile. In the next moment, a strange, ripping sound appeared from the center of the terrifying fireball. A strange, black light suddenly surged. It did not cover a particularly large range, only around 500 meters across, just a certain distance away from the powerhouses of the Temple Union. However, this black light had appeared quickly and vanished just as quickly. It took only 3 to 5 seconds from beginning to end. What everyone saw was that in the first second, whether it was the 8th step Hell Demons, Fiends, Moon Demons, Star Demons, or the 9th step Devil Dragon squads, they were all vaporized into mist within the range that the black light covered. In the second after the black light had appeared, all of the mist rose up, vanishing just like steam. They did not even leave behind their magic crystals. They just vanished into thin air. The demon gods could escape using their demon god pillars, but the other demons could not. The black light that spanned a width of 500 meters swept past 100 demons of the 8th step, as well as over a dozen devil dragon squads. They completely vanished after being swallowed by the black light. Whether it were the devil dragons with astonishing defense, the prophetic star demons or the moon demons that possessed both physical and magical prowess, there was nothing they could do before the strange black light. The attack was just too terrifying. Even though the demons had lost a few demon gods earlier, this was the first time they had suffered such a great loss all at once since the battle had begun. Linshin said painfully, "What a waste, what a great waste. All those good materials are gone. What a pity. Though, don't you all think that the technique I just created is very impressive? Let me think about it. I'll just call it the Eclipse of Navagraha. What do you think about it? Waha, I'm such a genius." If it weren't for the fact that the members of the Bright Glimmer of Hope were unable to speak just in case of making any mistakes in the boosting process, they really did want to give him a beating. Under the effects of the co-joined spiritual boosting pill, Linshin's cultivation had been elevated to the peak of the 9th rank of the 9th step, which completely ignited his mood. He was in a state of abnormal excitement. His natural humor and his hatred for the demons combined into a special emotion. While he was praising himself, everyone would admit he was a genius. Through the powers of the co-joined spiritual boosting pill, he had come up with a completely new technique that suited it completely in such a short amount of time. Just the talent to achieve that was exceptional. Boosting his spiritual energy was the correct decision of the Bright Glimmer of Hope. If it was Caia and Chen Yinga instead, it was impossible for them to deal such a blow to the demon so quickly. The Eclipse of Navagraha was just too destructive, such that even the Moon Demon God and Star Demon God noticed what was happening. Their clansmen were being slaughtered as well. And they had lost over 10% of the demon army's forces just from that. Moreover, the current Linshin made them feel threatened. Waving the eternal dragon's fire and looking at the crystal on the magic staff that had turned black under the influence of his own flames, Linshin smiled weirdly and pointed his staff at the demons in the distance. He called out, "Let me change my pose." Again. This time, another string of black fireballs immediately whistled out, flying toward the demons on the other side. With a lesson from before, were there anyone who still wanted to remain in the range of his attack? In that moment, even the devil dragon squads began to panic. A purple light flashed through the eyes of the moon demon god Agaz, and a purple moon lit up behind him. With a flash, he broke free from Shu Yongxiao's entanglement. At the same time, purple armor immediately covered his body, while the mark of a purple crescent moon appeared between his eyes. 12 purple wings grew from his back. In the next moment, he appeared before Linshin's string of fireballs. Bringing his hands together, he produced a purple crescent towards Linshin's fireballs. Ever since the battle had started, Agaz had never been using his full strength. Now, he finally could not afford to hold back anymore, even going as far as to use the demon god transformation. That was how great of a threat Linshin posed to the demons. However, something that infuriated Agaz happened very soon. Under the attack of his purple crescent moon, the seemingly terrifying black fireballs actually popped like bubbles. Let alone their terrifying power from before, they were not dangerous at all. They were actually just illusions. Linshin snickered at Agaz. "Apologies. I've disappointed you. I've been playing with you. There's no need to be so serious." As he said that, he waved the eternal dragon's fire to both sides and a streak of black fire shot out in all directions. These streaks of fire that seemed to be randomly unleashed, but they all seemed to have eyes, purposely targeting the demons that battled against the powerhouses of the Temple Union. Not only were they extraordinarily fast, they had locked onto their targets as well. In just a short while, 7 or 8 demons were hit and they all vaporized. Agaz became stern. He had never thought the bright glimmer of hope would be capable of a boosting method like this. Currently, Linshin had become like a monster after receiving the spiritual energy boost from others. He was definitely the most powerful fire mage in the history of the humans. The black flames were so hot that even he felt extremely threatened, which was the reason why he had erupted. The morale of the demons had been drastically lowered, while their original advantage had been forcefully removed as well. Even the demon gods were hiding near their demon god pillars, afraid of coming out and becoming Linshin's target. If everything followed Agaz's original plan, he would have been overjoyed by this matter. At most, he would just feel pained by the deaths of his own clansmen. However, after Visago's reminder from earlier, he developed other thoughts about Long Haochen. As a result, he did not wish to see the demons become defeated just like this. Raising both of his hands, they each held a meter-long, inch-wide crescent blades. The blades were completely purple as purple light pulsed on them like water ripples. At this moment, the Moon Demon God and Star Demon God had completely unleashed their strength. Agaz had broken free from Shu Yongxiao, but Visago had dragged Shu Yongxiao into his own battle as well, preventing her from leaving. And even under these circumstances, Visago had not undergone the Demon God transformation. If the Moon Demon God and Star Demon God had used their full strength since the beginning of the battle, the powerhouses of the Temple Union probably would have been defeated a long time ago. Cold light flashed through Agaz's eyes and his 12 wings unfurled. His wings were not completely the same. When they all unfurled, they formed a huge circle. Shining with purple light, it seemed like a moon. He held his blades beside his body and stared at Linshin. The Moon Demon God's gaze did not give off too great of a pressure, but it threatened Linshin like it had penetrated him, such that he stopped attacking the other demons. Pointing the eternal dragon's fire at Agaz, he made a provoking gesture like he was challenging the Moon Demon God. Agaz snorted coldly and his 12 wings lit up simultaneously. Immediately, a huge streak of purple light, as wide as his body, surged towards Linshin like moonlight. The black sun over Linshin's head basically lit up at the same time and a huge stream of fire went to receive Agaz's attack. The black and purple immediately merged in the air, erupting terrifyingly. Linshin remained standing where he was, without moving at all, but to his surprise, Agaz's shoulder only swayed once. Arrogance had not lost the upper hand by much at all. Linshin was not the only one surprised. The bright glimmer of hope was the same. Among the hearts of all the powerhouses from the Temple Union, the demon god Emperor Fengxiu was obviously the strongest among the demons. He was almost invincible, while the moon demon god Arrogance and the star demon god Visago had always been his left and right-hand men. Their brilliance was completely obscured by the demon god Emperor as well. Everyone believed the cultivations of the moon demon god and star demon god should have been drastically weaker than the demon god Emperor's. However, Linshin had now used his cultivation that had reached the peak of the 9th rank of the 9th step through the co-joined spiritual boosting pill to demonstrate just how terrifying Arrogance was. Under his demon god transformation, his cultivation was basically no different from the peak of the 9th rank of the 9th step. No wonder Arrogance was still able to stand in front him despite how powerful Linshin's black flames were. With Linshin's attack blocked, it was without a doubt a boost to the demon powerhouses. Without anyone's command, all of the demon gods hidden near the demon god pillars attacked once again, leading the demon army towards the powerhouses of the Temple Union who had just managed to catch a few breaths. The messy battle began once again. Black fireballs appeared one after another again. This time, they were no longer any illusions. Linshin clearly wanted to repeat the same old trick and use the eclipse of Navagraha again. However, while Arrogance might not have been stronger than Linshin in terms of offense right now, he definitely eclipsed Linshin in terms of agility, considering how many people Linshin had beside him. His purple figure suddenly turned into a blur. He was so fast that it was impossible to track him with the naked eye. When the third black fireball had just emerged, the first had already been slashed by Arrogance's blades, forcefully ripping it open. Although Arrogance became covered by a layer of black fire in the process, it was nullified by his wings on his back. Without the merging, the eclipse of Navagraha would not be able to used. In Linshin's current state, not only would it exhaust him tremendously if he directly used the eclipse of Navagraha, it would be a great test of his body as well due to the toll. It was not that he was afraid to attempt it, rather that he could not afford to. Once his body collapsed, his companions would suffer as well. As a result, he could only watch as his fireballs were destroyed by Arrogance one by one. However, Arrogance did not purposefully attack Linshin either. As he fought against Linshin, his gaze constantly shifted to the demon god Emperor and Long Haochen who were currently competing to see who could recover faster. Linshin stopped using a huge attack like the eclipse of Navagraha as well. He knew that Arrogance had not been using his full strength against him, because he had already revealed some openings when he used the eclipse of Navagraha earlier. He unleashed the power of what he cultivated once again, constantly sending Vulcan's fingers in Arrogance's direction. His attack was so frequent that it basically never stopped. Not only were the black fire Vulcan's fingers extremely powerful, every single one of them were strengthened by the Hellfire Needle as well. No matter how powerful Arrogance's cultivation was, he still struggled slightly against Linshin's constant attack. He no longer dared to look at the sky, dealing with Linshin's attacks with his full strength. His drugs bro really was powerful after being boosted by the co-joined spiritual boosting pill. Using his cultivation that gave him a slight edge, he was able to send a Vulcan's finger off in a different direction from time to time, purposefully targeting the 9th step devil dragons. Although a hurried Vulcan's finger might not have been enough to kill a devil dragon, it could cause enough trouble for them. Choosing the devil dragons instead of the moon demons or star demons was also due to how clever Linshin was. The members of the Bright Glimmer of Hope had already heard Long Haochen's instructions. They knew the moon demon god's loyalty was wavering. After some thought, Linshin understood why Arrogance had jumped at him just now. Wasn't it because of the deaths of his clansmen? As a result, he purposefully spared the moon demons and star demons, targeting only the devil dragons. This was without a doubt what Arrogance wanted the most, so he obviously would not get in Linshin's way either. As a matter of fact, he even developed some admiration towards this rather shameless person. There was a sudden, deafening roar of a dragon, which caused the powerhouses on the battlefield to look up at the sky once more. Such a deafening roar obviously came from the demon god Emperor. His tremendous, 3,000-long body slowly rose up and he stared at Long Haochen nearby with his blood-red eyes. He said coldly, "Yield or die. You have one last chance to choose." The demon god emperor's treatment of Long Haochen had completely changed now. The objective that he wished to reach the most earlier was no longer possible. Long Haochen's current cultivation had completely exceeded his expectations, such that it was impossible for him to forcefully erase Long Haochen's memories and then re-inject him with his own bloodline anymore. The only way was for Long Haochen to completely yield it and personally opened up his mind. Only then could he be groomed into a successor. Even though he could still use his powers as a god to suppress Long Haochen, the current Long Haochen already gave him a heavy sense of threat. The demon god emperor understood very well that probably in just a few years, with the assistance of the divine throne of eternity and creation and the fairy of god Yi Xiaolei, he would be able to reach the same level as him. And, with Yi Xiaolei's assistance and the past experiences of the goddess of nature, he might even become a god that was freed from the principles. Once that happened, not only would the demons be doomed, he would not be able to fend off Long Haochen either. The demon god Emperor Fengxiu was a man of great ambition and ability. When he discovered that a situation beyond his control had appeared, he immediately severed his feeling that developed from his ties of blood with Long Haochen. Long Haochen looked at the demon god Emperor coldly. You should know the answer already. Burning killing intent now appeared in the demon god Emperor's cold eyes. I want to hear it from you personally. If you choose to yield, then leave behind the remnants of the goddess of nature. Otherwise, I'll have to kill you a second time. Long Haochen snorted coldly. Your Majesty, are you really that confident in killing me? Have you ever considered whether I had been expecting the armor of eternity to awaken before I faced against you today? Was the consciousness of the Creator God something I had anticipated? Hearing that, the demon god Emperor could not help but be surprised. He did not really understand Long Haochen. What's the point of saying this now? Yield or die, s. Long Haochen continued to talk. I'm just telling you that since I know my cultivation isn't as great as yours, yet I've still appeared before you and I've led this battle, I obviously have my trump card. This trump card is something that can shock you. The accidental awakening of the divine throne of eternity and creation only allowed me to wield greater strength. I believe that even if I can't reach the domain of gods, you're still not my opponent. As he said that, Long Haochen raised his right hand and removed the mask from the armor of eternity and creation from his face. Removing the mask revealed his extremely handsome face. At the same time, Long Haochen placed a finger gently on his forehead. From there, 9 markings appeared. Seeing the purplish gold markings, the demon god emperor suddenly shuddered. He said coldly, "Are you trying to use the residual aura of Austin Griffin's bloodline to deal with me?" HMPH, Austin Griffin failed to fully awaken, so do you really think that the aura he's left behind can surpass the creator gods? Although that was what he said, a sliver of fear appeared in his huge, red eyes. Even though the demon god emperor hid it very well, Long Haochen still sensed it. Below, Agaz and Vasago became nervous at this moment as well. They both knew that the matter that they worried about the most might happen at this moment. It would also decide their future course of action. Long Haochen did not answer the demon god emperor. Purplish golden light just lit up from his forehead, and as he raised his right hand, the purplish golden light extended over. Terrifying, purplish golden light also appeared in the air, forming quite a contrast to the white armor of eternity and creation. The demon god emperor's gaze finally changed drastically, because to his shock, the aura from the light was far more powerful than he had expected it to be. He could not afford to wait any longer. Stimulated by his fear, the demon god emperor suddenly turned around and lashed at Long Haochen with his huge tail. Dark blue electricity immediately condensed on his tail, forming something like a terrifying, dark blue blade of light. It seemed like he wanted to cut Long Haochen in half. Long Haochen's gaze was blank as the purplish golden light seemed to thump. It appeared in his hand. Afterwards, he vanished in the air. A huge, vertical eye appeared there silently. The eye was very large. It actually stood over 50 meters tall. It was extremely strange because there were actually 2 colors in a single eye. One side of the outline of the eye was the same translucent white as the sword of eternity and creation, while the other side was a heavy purplish gold that did not give off any aura at all. The 2 colors formed an extremely clear contrast. What was even more terrifying was that the huge eye actually possessed 2 pupils. One was translucent white, while the other purplish gold. And the pupils actually showed signs of attempting to fuse together. They tangled with each other, revolving around each other like the two circles on a yin-yang symbol. The demon god emperor's huge dragon tail had already arrived. It was also at this moment that the wondrous, polychoric eye of Brahma lit up. The purplish gold and translucent white light, two completely different auras, opposites as a matter of fact, erupted in the air. It collided against the demon god emperor's colossal body. The current demon god emperor had already recovered his peak condition, while Long Haochen had only recovered 30% of his spiritual energy. Under such a disparity of strength, the results should have been obvious. However, strength did not necessarily dictate the outcome. It was completely impossible for the human powerhouses to save Long Haochen, because they were not powerful enough to intervene on this battle that was almost between two gods. They did not have the time either. Kia immediately shut her eyes. Her body trembled heavily, to the point where it almost interfered with the boosting. It was also in the next moment that a deafening howl rang out. When she heard the howl, Kia immediately opened her eyes again. She knew Long Haochen just too well. The howl did not come from Long Haochen. She could clearly distinguish Long Haochen's voice from others. When Kia looked up at the sky again, she was completely stunned, because she was blood scattered everywhere. She could not see the color of the blood clearly, but she could see huge chunks of scales that were even larger than millstones fall down from the sky. The huge eye gradually faded away in the sky, while the demon god emperor's tail had been completely blown away. The scales and blood originated from a terrifyingly huge wound on the tail. The demon god emperor was actually injured, and his wound seemed rather heavy as well, while Long Haochen's eye of Brahma was bit affected in the process at all. The clear contrast seemed unbelievable. The moon demon god Agaus and the star demon god Visago looked at each other. They could see each other's intense fear. What they worried about the most had still ended up happening. If it were not for the appearance of this power, how was it possible for Long Haochen to harm the demon god emperor who was in his peak condition? The eye of Brahma slowly faded away in the air, while the demon god emperor was now several thousand meters away from Long Haochen. His colossal figure rapidly shrunk, and in the blink of an eye, Fengxiu appeared before Long Haochen in human form once more. His left calf was bloody, clearly the area that had been injured earlier. Long Haochen's figure appeared once more. The only different part about him was that while he held the sword of eternity and creation in his left hand, another sword had appeared in his right hand. It was a huge, purplish golden sword. In terms of size, the new sword was the same as the sword of eternity and creation. It shone with subdued purplish golden light, while there were 8 dim imprints of different color on the huge blade. The strangest part about it was that the sword guard was composed of 8 heads, protecting Long Haochen's right hand. Currently, the dark golden markings on Long Haochen's forehead shone brightly, like a strange eye. His aura had changed drastically as well. The smooth, gentle power of creation only took up half of his aura. The other half was a terrifying aura filled with surging fighting intent. Combined with the terrifying aura was an unmatched feeling of hatred. The hatred was directed towards the demon god emperor near Long Haochen. Looking at the purplish golden sword in Long Haochen's hands, the demon god emperor's pupils had narrowed to the size of a dot. He raised his hand and pointed at Long Haochen. His body actually trembled gently. "Why, you? It's actually still alive," the demon god emperor stuttered slightly. His voice was filled with disbelief, as if he was about to collapse. Long Haochen looked at the demon god emperor coldly. A faint, purple color rippled through the depths of his golden pupils. "I never said that Haou is dead. Do you think that killing me was enough to kill him back then? You've underestimated Haou's vitality, and you've also underestimated how consolidated by soul force is. When he reached there, he could not help but thank Elux. If it were not for the Tower of Eternity, his soul probably would have dispersed back then. If it were not for Elux's existence, he would not be standing here today, finally suppressing the demon god emperor who had reigned over the Shenmue Dalu for 6,000 years. In that moment, Long Haochen had completely forgiven the holy necromancer, slumbering calamity Elux. The past was the past. The best way he could repay Elux was to break out of this age of darkness and return humanity to a period of peace and development. A strange light suddenly lit up in the demon god Emperor's eyes as he looked at the purplish god Haou's sword. He murmured, 8 heads, 8 heads. It's still just 8 heads. Austin Griffin hasn't awakened completely. We still have a chance. Agaz, Vasago, what are you waiting for? Do you really plan on waiting until Austin Griffin has awakened and this world is destroyed? As he said that, the demon god Emperor suddenly pulled back, pulling further away from Long Haouchen. His devil dragon sword appeared in his hand again. Pointing the huge sword forwards, a dark golden disc appeared behind him. It was black in the center, while the outskirts were faint, reddish gold. The demon god Emperor's black pupils when he was in human form also turned red. Agaz and Vasago looked at each other and determination flooded their eyes. The two demon gods rose into the sky at the same time. As they ascended, the purple moon formed from Agaz's 12 wings became brighter and brighter, while Vasago gained a huge, orangey-red star behind him. Long Haouchen's expression remained the same when he saw the two demon gods react so suddenly. Before the battle had begun, he had already anticipated this would happen once he used Haou's power. This was also why the battle had lasted for so long and an important reason as to why Long Haouchen had refused Haou's assistance the entire time and faced against the demon god Emperor alone. What he worried about the most was the demon gods treating him as a common enemy and working together, including the moon demon god Agaz who had always favored his side. Of course it was impossible for him to not use Haou's powers at all. Instead, he purposely delayed it as much as possible, so the Battle of the Dragon-resisting mountain pass could develop to a certain degree. Long Haouchen had already achieved most of what he wanted. As the Moon Demon God and Star Demon God had not been trying at all, the powerhouses of the Temple Union did not suffer too greatly. Instead, they even managed to gain a small advantage, especially when the bright glimmer of hope used the co-joined spiritual boosting pills and weakened the demon forces further. Now that the Moon Demon God and Star Demon God had both joined Long Haouchen's battle, the humans would instead gain an upper hand over the demons. After all, it had freed up two great powerhouses at the 7th rank of the 9th step and a peak 9th rank of the 9th step Linshin. However, whether it was the Demon God Emperor, Moon Demon God or Star Demon God, none of them seemed to care about what happened below anymore. When Long Haouchen saw the determination in Agaz and Vasago's eyes, he could not help but wonder just what made them fear Haou so much, such that even the Moon Demon God who had clearly drifted away from the Demon God Emperor would change his mind at such a crucial moment. The three luminaries, the sun, the moon, and the stars, the Demon God Emperor bellowed out. Raising the Devil Dragon sword high into the air, a sharp stream of dark golden light surged into the sky from his body. Agaz and Vasago moved as well. Agaz raised his pair of crescent blades, and a stream of purple light shot into the air. As Vasago ascended through the air, he had completed his demon god transformation. A set of orangey-red robes shining with starlight covered his body, while a magic staff of starlight appeared in his right hand. The oval-shaped gemstone on the very top of the staff has 6 glimmering meeting lines. When he raised the staff, a great stream of orangey-red light surged into the sky. The 3 colors were different, but their power and terrifying light formed a triangle around Long Haouchen, enveloping him from all sides. However, Long Haouchen instead performed an action that both infuriated and confused the 3 demon gods. He did not pay any attention to them at all, instead looking down and yelling to the human powerhouses, "Clean up the battlefield. Victory to the Union." The 8 simple words indicated that Long Haouchen did not require their help, which made Linshin and the bright glimmer of hope halt as they rose up. Linshin looked back at Kia, "Vice Captain, what do we do?" Kia gritted her teeth, "We do as he says. Let's clean up the battlefield first. Once we deal with the problems here, we can go help him." "All right." Linshin's smile vanished. It was replaced by seriousness. A deep chant appeared as the eternal dragon's fire in his hand moved towards a strange rhythm. Behind him, Kia, Wang Yuan, Chen Yinga, Simon Xian, and Yu and Zhong Fangfang all felt their spiritual energy being drawn away by Linshin at an astonishing speed. Without a doubt, he was using a major move again. It would be even more powerful than the eclipse of Navagraha. The black sun over Linshin's head finally began to expand, only stopping when it reached 30 meters across. There was a rather hoarse phoenix's cry. Afterwards, with a sway of Linshin's body, dense, black light surged out from his chest, before entering the black sun above. This video will end here.